everyone, I'm Susie Buttons. I am a fashion designer from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is my dog Sherlock. He is my best friend and studio assistant. We're in my studio right now. I have been working on my brand Buttons for about 2 years now. I recently had a show at Philly Fashion Week, so this is my collection here. It was called Buttons Dream House. It's kind of like Ken and Barbie go to a tea party in my vintage maximalist fantasy world. Before I was a fashion designer, I worked in costumes. I made costumes for opera and ballet for about 8 years, and then I changed over to fashion, and I've been having so much fun. I just love color and texture, playing with all sorts of things that just bring me joy. I call myself a vintage maximalist, and what that means to me is I love vintage styles. Like you can see my dress, 50s dresses, 60s, 70s, the stuff that kind of brings like a nostalgia to times of old. My costume design background allows me to pull from a ton of different time periods. And then I kind of max that out with my colors and textures and patterns. I got my nickname, Susie Buttons, when I was working in costumes in the opera. I was just happy to be at the Opera Philadelphia costume shop. It's very prestigious to work there when you're in costumes. And I just wanted to make a good impression. So my first day, I had to prove my worth just like everybody else on their first day of the job. And so they stuck me in the corner sewing buttons on countless military uniforms. And I was just happy. I was sitting there doing my thing. I made some new friends, and then the next day I came in and they said, "Hey, we have a nickname for you." I was like, "All right, cool, what is it?" And they said, "Susie Buttons." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so perfect. It fits me and my personality." And I've just kind of run with it and used it for my brand. And it brings me joy every time I talk about my nickname because I remember all of my friends and they're kind of like my family too. They taught me a lot and they're very supportive of my fashion design career. I'm going to pull this dress out. This is one of my dresses from my last collection, Buttons Dream House. I kind of didn't know what I wanted this dress to be. I had something sketched out and it was not exactly this at all. I was going to use this gorgeous beaded fabric, which was one big rectangle of fabric, and kind of put it all over the skirt, do some draping, and I hated it. It was too geometric and too symmetrical, and my brain was not liking what it was doing. So I made this gorgeous silk bodice. I love structure and corsetry, so I made this white silk bodice, put it up on the form, and then started cutting apart my very expensive, beautiful beaded fabric and just kind of placing it in an organic way that felt good and brought me joy. And I just love what it did to this shape. But each one of these flowers is completely hand sewn on. Same thing with the skirt too. I didn't know what I wanted it to be. I got all of these different colors of tulle to just layer and see what colors I could make with it. And that's kind of what you'll see in a lot of my clothes is this kind of playfulness that comes from layering different fabrics, different textures. I was not about this glitter tulle when I first got it. It dropped glitter everywhere, all over my studio, all over me. I love glitter, but not usually in fabric. And so, but when I put it all together and I sewed it all on here, it kind of created this just ethereal and whimsical vibe that I fell in love with. So I kept it and it's one of my favorite pieces. One of my other favorite pieces is this. I'll just pull this skirt out so it's a little bit easier to see. But this is a 3D flower fabric. It's organza that I layered with another daisy tulle, embroidered tulle. I love a theme. So when I had flowers, I was like, this is kind of flat by itself. I mean, not literally, it has these 3D flowers. But I just wanted more dimension. And like I said, I'm a maximalist, so I like to just kind of add and see where I feel like stopping. So I pulled out this embroidered daisy tool and layered it underneath and just fell in love. And the skirt itself just has so much movement. And of course, crinoline. It has so much crinoline and poofiness. When I was a little kid, I only wanted dresses that would twirl. I judged all of my clothes by their twirlability, I call it. And I still do today. So that's when I make anything, I'm like, will it twirl? Will it look fun? I have not met a woman yet who wears a dress and doesn't twirl in it when they put it on. And that's kind of what I like to see in my dresses. If I want to wear it, if I want to dance around in it and go to a tea party, then I'd like to make it. I am mostly a women's wear designer, but I do dabble in menswear. It's the same as all of my other clothes. It's a lot of color, a lot of texture, a lot of print. This is my favorite menswear piece that I've ever made. This is probably the first time I've made a blazer since college. I have made some traditional frock coats from the Victorian era, but a contemporary man's blazer is a feat on itself. And then I found this upholstery fabric. This is just meant to kind of go on your couch or make a cushion with tigers on it, and this hot pink and orange stripe, and I fell in love, and I said, that needs to be a blazer. And then, as you'll see later on in the studio, I paired it with a pair of pants that's a tiger eye geometric print. So, like I said, I love a theme, tiger on tigers, just kind of layering it, mixing prints, having fun with it. And my pattern matching. I am a technician at heart. I love to make clothes. When I'm stressed, I sew. When I'm tired, I sew. It's how I decompress, and it's how I've gotten to where I am, because I love the art. I love making things. And when you make patterns and you make clothes, especially in costumes, pattern matching is huge, because you don't want a seam in the back of your garment that looks all sorts of crazy, and you've got one tiger up here and one down there. So I love my pattern matching here. My tigers line up. So that is a good win for anybody. I went to Albright College up in Reading, Pennsylvania. I wanted to do costumes, and they have a unique program where they offered a fashion design major with a concentration in costume design. I fell in love with the theater at a very young age. My mom would always take me to shows, and kind of in high school it clicked. Like, there were people on the stage and they were wearing clothes, and somebody has to do all of that. And so I thought, hey, I want to do that. So I went to school for costume design, and then after school I graduated and started working with a lot of theaters in the Philadelphia area. So I started out at the Walnut Street Theater and kind of moved my way up in the theater scene. I always loved designing, but I didn't love designing for the adult shows as much, because if you have a period like 1930s straight play, it calls for a very specific look. You have to talk about character development, and you have a director and an audience and a budget and all of these people who are kind of expecting lots of things from you. When I used to do children's shows, it's for the kids. Nobody cared what it looked like. They didn't care if you put like polka dots and stripes and florals and mixed them all together into one look, because it was fun. It was for children. It made people happy. And that's the part of designing that I loved. And that's what I bring to my clothes and my collections. Years ago, Albright College called me up and they said, hey, we have this kind of project runway type of competition where you can participate and apply for a spot at New York Fashion Week. And I've never really thought of myself as a fashion designer before that point. but I love a challenge. I love trying something new. So I said, hey, why not? It also so happened that I was getting married the same month as New York Fashion Week. The, the show and my wedding were about a week apart, which was kind of crazy. I don't recommend it, but it was a lot of fun. And it was probably one of the best times of my whole life. But I did apply to the program at Albright College. I showed a mini collection of 3 pieces and then was chosen as one of 7 designers to show at New York Fashion Week and create a slightly larger collection of about 7 or 8 pieces. I showed there, it was a huge hit, and I started to see myself as a fashion designer. Over the past year, I did a few smaller charity fashion shows. I love the community. I love giving back. It's something that's really near and dear to my heart and something that I do on a daily basis. Yesterday, I was actually building bikes for children in some smaller disadvantaged neighborhoods. But I did some charity fashion shows, and then I sent my stuff over to Philly Fashion Week. It was my first time kind of working with a show like that on that scale, and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I wasn't even sure that they'd accept me to show or how that process was, so I just kind of sent them my stuff and said, hey, this is me. I'm starting out my brand. Let me know how I can get involved. I would love to show one day. And I heard nothing back for about 2 months, and then all of a sudden I got a call and it was like, hey, you have a slot at Philly Fashion Week. Do you want it? And it was the same kind of situation where as when I did New York Fashion Week, where I was like, I'm not sure. I wasn't sure that I could do it, but I wanted the challenge and I wanted to see if I could pull off making a 15 look collection in a matter of 8 weeks. And I did it. And it was a lot of fun. I'm currently working on my next collection, hopefully to debut in September 2025. I do have a spot at London Fashion Week, so I will be showing there. My next collection is Alice in Wonderland inspired. A lot of my clothes are kind of like a fashion fairy tale. They're inspired by these moments that I've had as a child or things that I love and wish I saw more of in my adult life. So just like my Buttons Dream House collection was kind of inspired by my love of like playing with dolls and playing dress up. My Alice in Wonderland collection is inspired by my love of the Alice in Wonderland story and just imagination and kind of these classic things that we know as children and lose a little bit of as we grow up. So I'm super excited. I've got some big plans. I have some sketches started here. This is one of my fabrics for it. I saw all of these ruffles and I just fell in love on this fabric. I really love texture. I love ruffles, bows, all sorts of frilly things, even sometimes glitter. This dress is completely covered in pearls. So I love adding all of these little touches because a lot of what I use is upholstery or brocade, jacquard, very heavy fabrics. So I like to match those with kind of these light touches, the feathers, the pearls, the tulle, to kind of balance it out. This set of mine is also from my Buttons Dream House collection. It's a little crop top with some feathers, but as you can see, this is very heavy brocade fabric. But the feathers and the bow kind of give it a lightness that it sometimes doesn't have, especially if it's being used to upholster a couch. Should I bring out more clothes?
Why not? Sure, if you want.
Anytime I do a fashion show, I have to make something for myself, and I probably shouldn't, but I think I make my best pieces for myself because I want to be the prettiest girl at the party. But I do share. I put them in other shows and I put them on models. But I did make this dress for Philly Fashion Week. This kind of combines all of the things that I love. So I have these 3D flowers that I hand cut. I hand dyed them as well with tea. Fun trick, if you need to tone down any fabric or kind of change the color only slightly, hot tea works wonders. It takes a while, but I did dye all of these flowers and cut them and dye them with tea. This dress has layers upon layers. And it has all different textures, all different colors. I love this fabric. It's got a floral pattern kind of embroidered onto it. And I wanted to play with levels of sheerness that created something more dense. And when it moved, you could kind of see what was underneath and peek a little bit. It again is fully beaded, fully sequined, sparkly. Love sparkle. And it's pink, which is my favorite color, if you couldn't tell, because about half the dresses on my rack and half the things in my collection are pink. I'm going to try and get away from pink a little bit for my Alice in Wonderland collection, but I'm sure I'll sneak it back in there. I can show you the inside of these too, because it takes a lot of work, a lot of hand sewing. Maybe the next, I'll do a different one inside. This one's good. When I create any dress or any shape, even the vests that I make for some of my menswear things, I always think about how it's going to be constructed, how I create these shapes on people. Way back in the day, people used to wear a lot of different types of shapewear. So corsets, even the guys wore corsets, hip pads, petticoats. I still wear a petticoat because twirling. Again, twirling is my favorite thing. So I still wear a petticoat, I wear a corset because I want to create these hourglass shapes. But that's not always feasible for the everyday person. So inside my dresses, I use a lot of couture techniques. So everything is fully boned, fully steel boned, and a lot of it is sewn by hand. This dress even has some added tulle and hip pads to kind of give that hourglass shape that has been so classic for so many years for great reasons. Everything I make too, I kind of think about it in the way that we would make costumes. So it's all alterable. When you make costumes for theater, they're very expensive garments and they take a long time to produce. Sometimes you have 4 or 5 people working on one thing. And if it has beading or painting, dyeing, that's even more people that have to work on it. So you want it to last for years and you want it to be able to be worn by 100 different people if it has to be. So you always leave extra inches hidden in there somewhere in case you have to let out the dress or take it in. I love construction. I come from a strong construction background. Anytime I make anything, I use these couture techniques that you see a lot in costume design. There's a lot of hand sewing in here. Everything I make is fully boned, fully structured, fully corseted. This dress has even some added hip pads in it to just kind of flare the dress out on the side and create more of that silhouette that I want. One thing that I do with all of my garments, I think about it like I'm constructing a costume. So with costumes, you want it to fit about 100 different people and last for years because it's very expensive, it's very time consuming. There's a lot of love that goes into these, probably some literal blood, sweat, and tears that goes into these dresses. So I want them to last and I want to customize the dress for the body that it's going on. I think a lot of times in fashion, we do it the other way around. We try and fit our bodies to the clothes, but the clothes should fit you and they should make you feel better about yourself, not the other way around. So all of my clothes kind of have these hidden inches in here. If I ever have to let this out or change it, I could probably change this up or down to dress sizes. And that's kind of amazing because sometimes you buy stuff online or from a store and it is what it is. Like it's a small t-shirt forever. These dresses, if today you're a small and 2 years from now you're a medium or maybe even a large, we can let this out and we kind of can make it fit you. I also just love the fabric of this dress. It has these metallic threads that run through it, and with all jacquards, it kind of takes what could be a really flat print and makes it 3D and very textural. I love to touch lots of things. Even like on my beaded dresses, I fall in love with the fabric first, and then sometimes I design around that. So if I go into a store, I'll just kind of start touching things and say, ooh, does this feel good? Do I like the way this looks? Even this, I just play with it. I love the airiness of all of these. And there's a lot of that juxtaposition in my collection, kind of pairing the airy with these heavier fabrics and making some of these heavier fabrics make those structured shapes that I like for big poofy skirts or dramatic pants. Hang this back up. Live has really helped me grow my confidence and have the ability to become Susie Buttons and the Susie Buttons brand. Thank you. I'll see you at the studio. This is the first look from my Buttons Dream House collection. The collection itself was inspired by kind of Ken and Barbie who go to a tea party in my vintage maximalist fantasy land. So here we have one of our Kens, and I was just really drawn to this fabric. Animal prints are not my favorite all the time, so I kind of took a walk on the wild side with this snake skin, but I just love the colors, love the hot pink and the blue together. The jacket itself is based off of a vintage 1950s bomber jacket, and then we kind of made it a little bit more modern with the skinny pant and the two-tone silk shirt underneath. This look was inspired by kind of a classic top and pants set. I really love to play with structure and also the softness with the bow and the tulle. It's one of my signatures, the bow feature, so you'll see it on a lot of my outfits. I loved this fabric also. It's kind of like a brocade or an upholstery fabric you'd see on a very fancy chair, but this looks gorgeous in this two-piece combo. This yellow 3D flower dress is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite dress from the collection. It's so fun and has so much movement, as you can see. I layered organza and embroidered tulle on top to kind of create this 3D, really ethereal, dimensional effect. And she's just having so much fun in it. This was inspired by Grace Kelly and our favorite old Hollywood ladies and their flowy dresses from the 50s. This pink circle skirt dress is just so much fun. I was really drawn to this fabric. It's got so many colors in it, the blues, the golds, hot pink, light pink, and I love the metallic tone. And of course, who doesn't need a giant front bow sleeve combo to play around in and go to a tea party with. This green and purple dress I love so much. I was just inspired by this fabric and kind of almost the watercolor effect that the jacquard weave has. As you can see, the light purple, the gold, the little birds. I do love a cute little critter on my clothes. And flowers, of course, as you'll see through the whole collection. With the back, I just wanted to break up the heaviness of the fabric and use some light tulle, give her some bows as well. And it's paired with a floral headband, as are many of my dresses. Who doesn't love a fun, flowy cape? This dress and cape are just kind of meant to be frolicked in. I picked out this fabric because I needed something that had a little bit more saturation to mesh with my men's looks. And I just fell in love with the birds and the florals and just the color combination. And again, to make it a little bit more light and airy, I paired it with this shimmer cape sleeve combination that just flows in the breeze. This pink pearl tulle dress is one of the lightest pieces from my collection. You can hear the pearls clacking. But it's so fun. It's just light, airy. She's having fun with it. I wanted to add some feathers, which you'll see in my collection as well. It's very feminine, very twirly, very pink and Barbie. I designed this butterfly top and skirt because I wanted to make a sister to the yellow dress that I loved so much. So I used the same type of silhouette, same patterns basically, and just kind of played with it with a different color and with the butterflies. I loved the subtle sequins on the butterflies themselves because as she moves, she sparkles. And she just has so much fun. This dress was another one inspired by the classic 50s hourglass silhouette, the fit and flare. I wanted to create a strapless bodice and keep it short, so it's fun and playful. I paired it with these detached puff sleeves to kind of bring that romantic element that I use a lot in my collection. And of course, I just love the gold notes, metallic notes, and with this hydrangea printed jacquard. Here we have another one of my men's looks. I just saw this fabric with the tigers on it and completely fell in love. It is upholstery velvet, and it just took my breath away with these fun tigers paired with hot pink and orange stripes. I just thought it was happy and needed to be a blazer. And then because I love a theme, I picked out this Turkish tiger eye geometric print to go with it and to kind of tie into the other brocades that I have in my collection. Thank you for watching. This has been my Buttons Dream House collection. I'm Susie Buttons, and this is Behind the Collection Philly.